You're listening to the Night Stalker Rescue. Episode 5. Kasper and Riley stood at once and began moving forward, but Josephine's eyes flared at my words, and her hand flew to my shoulder to keep me from rising.
"I'm going with you,"
she whispered, a Latina accent threading its way into her words for the first time since I'd met her. I could tell she was angry, ready for a fight, and after losing her co-pilot, she had every reason to be. "Wait here," I replied. "That's final."
"I can shoot, you know. I'm a Night Stalker, not an airline pilot."
"It's not your marksmanship I'm worried about."
"Oh, so it's because I'm a woman. You think I need protecting?"
Her nostrils were flaring, and I sensed Riley and Kasper waiting impatiently behind me. "Sister," I said quietly, "next time you want to run with the gunslingers, bring a can."
"What?"
I pointed to her rifle's bare muzzle and explained, "A suppressor. This blocking position has to go down silently. In the meantime, I need you to pull rear security while we move up. If we hear you shooting, we'll move to you. If you hear anything but suppressed gunfire up ahead, you come running to back us up. Deal?" She deflated, realizing that I was right.
"Okay."
She conceded.
"And hey, if this turns into a two-way gunfight, you can count on me."
"If there's a two-way gunfight, I won't have a choice, because if we get compromised now, we're all going to be fighting for our lives." I held up my fist to her and she pounded it with her own, then spun and relocated to a tree trunk, crouching beside it and raising her M4 while watching our back trail. The left sleeve of her flight suit was stained in an ugly red streak, the cut she'd sustained in the crash having already bled through Riley's medical dressing. But to her credit, Josephine hadn't revealed the slightest indication that her injury would hinder her. Having seen her determination thus far, I didn't feel the slightest twinge of doubt about leaving her as the sole fighter on rear security. I rose in place, finding myself under Kasper and Riley's expectant gaze. "All right," I whispered. "Let's go." We advanced painstakingly forward, sacrificing speed for stealth until we found Worthy waving us in from behind a tree. Crouching down, we approached him and knelt for a quick huddle. By now, I could hear people speaking up ahead, though I dared not peer through the bushes until Worthy said his piece. From our location, they sounded like they were conversing casually in Tausug. Someone let out a laugh, then quickly went quiet. I leaned forward to hear Worthy, who was preparing to address us in unison, but instead of his polished southern lilt, he spoke in a crude Native American accent. "There's something in those trees." Another Predator quote. "God damn it," I hissed. "Worthy, not now." Worthy's eyes momentarily found the jungle floor, his voice returning to his normal plantation owner brand of Southern. "Sorry," he drawled. "There's 4 of them from what I can see, all clustered in the low ground, fucking off. Bad visibility from down here, though. Recommend we cloverleaf back, then split up. 2 guys up the high ground to the left, 2 to the right. We can't get high enough to bypass, but we can get better angles of fire before they hear us. Stop once we get visibility on the blocking position, then a coordinated slice and dice. The movement will cost us 5 minutes of prep time, but really boost our chances of doing this thing quietly." His eyes watched mine, and I tried to conceal a mild sense of surprise that Worthy had come up with what seemed to be the best possible course of action. I nodded, then looked at the others. "Sounds good to me. Objections?" Kasper shook his head, and Riley whispered, "Let's do it." "All right," I said. Worthy would need to stay with Kasper, the most seasoned team member. Riley and I were in the middle ground of operational experience on the team, and we'd be fine together. "Kasper and Worthy go right. Riley and I go left. I'll coordinate initiation over comms." We backtracked 5 meters, then split into pairs. Riley and I ascended a short distance up the west slope, while Kasper and Worthy did the opposite, and then we converged on either side of the blocking position. There was but a moment of high drama on our route to the final firing positions. As I followed Riley through the brush, some primordial instinct told me to freeze. I scanned the infinite leaves and vines around me, searching for a tripwire that had triggered my survival reflex before I'd consciously seen it, and while it took me a few seconds of heart-stopping terror to locate it, I found the source of my panic suspended from a tree branch just a foot away from my right cheek, and it was no tripwire. Instead, I saw the emerald twist of a serpentine coil, its surface braided with scales and flecked with white markings. The snake's neck tapered to a narrow diameter beneath the white, diamond-shaped head that faced me now. I saw smoldering eyes the color of burnt orange, the serpent as immobile as I was, poised to strike without so much as a flick of its tongue. Was it venomous? Why not? It appeared to be a pit viper, and given the way our luck was playing out at present, I wasn't going to win the lottery odds needed to find a harmless snake in this jungle. Delicately retracing my steps in complete and total deference to the force of nature that had nearly ventilated my face with its fangs, I swung wide around the snake, then resumed my pursuit of Riley in the lead. I had barely resumed breathing before my mind returned to the next imminent danger. The 4 fighters below us, blocking our path to the coast. I was nervous about taking our eyes off the small enemy force for the relocation, but with 4 of us, we didn't have a choice. There simply weren't enough of us to risk leaving a man in the low ground just to make sure 4 reportedly complacent enemies didn't move out. My anxiety mounted with each passing second as Worthy's estimated 5-minute relocation time turned to 6, and then 7. But when Riley threw up a fist for me to halt movement, then pointed through the trees down the slope and toward the low ground, I could see that the investment in time had been well worth every second. The 4 enemy fighters were still there, all seated close enough to talk. One of them had stripped off his chest rig for comfort, and only 2 of them had their weapons close enough to fire at a second's notice. One cradled an AK-47 in his lap, another kept an M16 slung over his shoulder. The other 2 had left their rifles in the leaf litter at their feet, arms wrapped around their knees as they chatted without a care in the world. They weren't expecting any opposition, and they were going to pay dearly for that assumption. I could make out a few hand grenades on their kit, but no crew-served weapons. I nodded to Riley and then transmitted to Cancer and Worthy, now undetectable on the far slope. I count 4, ordered from left to right. Men number 1 and 3 are closest to weapons and get the first shots. I don't see a radio, so no additional priorities of fire. We'll work left to right. You guys work right to left. Am I missing anything? Cancer responded, his Jersey voice sounding distant and tinny over my earpiece. Number 4 man has the radio on the ground next to his boot. We'll clean him up after dropping the number 3 man. Ready when you are, boss. Riley had shifted position to brace his non-firing arm over a piece of deadfall, then laid the stock of his HK-416 over his open palm and whispered, I've got a bead on number 1. He'll get a headshot. I knelt into a supported position, centering my reticle on the number 2 man's center mass. Keeping a hand on my rifle's pistol grip, I used the other to transmit. Stand by, stand by. Initiation in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Initiate. The twerp of Worthy's suppressed fire punctuated my last 2 words, and I released the transmit button to reinforce my grip as I unleashed a trio of shots at my designated man. He was unquestionably hit, spiraling out of sight through the leaves as I searched for other targets. I could see a man on the right sprawling into view and drilled 2 rounds into his chest for good measure before continuing to sweep for survivors. For a moment, all 4 men appeared to be down, and I broke my grip to transmit the order for us to converge on the low ground in a final assault. And that's when everything went to shit. A blood-curdling cry erupted from somewhere in the blocking position, and through the leaves I saw my number 2 man stagger back into view. He had somehow gotten to his feet and recovered his AK-47 and was now wheeling it wildly before being hit by a half-dozen rounds from our 2 firing positions and falling out of sight. Maybe they didn't hear that, I transmitted hopefully. Suddenly, he burst into view again. He ate more rounds as we all re-engaged, desperately trying to shut down his central nervous system, but he was pirouetting across the low ground, changing direction like a jackrabbit. This guy wasn't just on crystal meth, I realized in a flash of panic. He was tweaking out of his mind, his vital systems persevering against all ballistic odds in a drug-induced overdrive. I silently prayed with each round I fired. Headshot, headshot, headshot. He spun, wielding his rifle in one hand as the other reached for a grenade. A round through his side caused him to whip around, and in the throes of death, rip a chattering automatic burst of fire from his AK-47. Finally, his head exploded, and dead at last, he spun sideways and fell to the ground. The echo of his gunfire receded into the jungle. "Or that," I said. Suddenly, a grenade beneath his body exploded, sending his corpse momentarily skyward before he collapsed in a heap amidst a black cloud of dirt and incinerated leaf litter. That tweaker son of a bitch had managed to pull a pin before he gave up the ghost. I keyed my mic a final time, the deep booming echo of the grenade rolling across the jungle as I concluded, "You know what? Maybe we should consider ourselves compromised, just to be safe." Cancer replied, "Right side moving." Riley and I crashed downhill, pumping subsonic rounds into the visible bodies and reloading as we moved. I heard the chuffing of suppressed fire from Cancer and Worthy on the opposite slope before I saw them, and by the time we spilled into the low ground, there was no question that we'd bagged our 4 men, but the damage was done. There was a crash of brush to our south, and I whirled to see Josephine emerging from the leaves.
Sounds like that went pretty well,
she said, appraising the bodies and then looking at me.
So how'd those suppressors work out?
Before I could answer her, the nearest enemy fighter writhed on the ground, whether due to the last vestiges of life slipping away or a post-mortem twitch, I didn't know, and didn't have time to ascertain. Josephine raised her M4 and shot him 3 times, then advanced toward the body to deliver a 4th round to his face at near point-blank range. "Oh!" Riley gasped shallowly beside me, his voice shuddering with desire. "I like her." The Night Stalker Rescue is a production of Fathom Curve Media. Written by Jason Kasper. Performed by Justin Price and Tara Novi. Sound design by Darren Bowling. Casting and original recording by Audio Sorceress. Produced by Andrew Watts for Fathom Curve Media, an imprint of Severn River Publishing.